I'd like to start by thanking the grace of heaven, virtues of masters, grand predecessor, transmitters, and all of you for giving me the opportunity to share this class today. So the scripture we're going to go through today is from 2012 in Taiwan at our headquarters, Tongyi Temple, where they had a reunion with our 18th patriarch. His name is Tianren Buddha, and he's also known as our holy teacher. So this scripture has a lot of important information and advice for cultivators. So he starts by saying, by listening to the way someone speaks, one can know their cultivation level. So remember we talked about pure speech in a previous class. Well, Holy Teacher has said that if we can't control our mouths, then we cannot earn others' respect. So what do? Holy Teacher advises that we should always say good things. Don't say mean or deceitful words at all. Don't say flattering and non-true things. Also, we should try not to say resentful things. Like if someone cooks for us at the temple or at home, but maybe we complain about not liking something in the food, then it shows that we don't have gratitude and we're going to hurt the chef's feelings, right? It makes them not want to cook for us. So we should always speak fragrant words. Speaking fragrantly is like a lotus flower, and it makes others feel so warm and appreciated. So the other night, I took my mom to the airport because she's going to Taiwan, and the worker was so sweet, and he complimented my mother and was just very kind and very patient. So then we ended up feeling very warm inside, and we thought, what a nice way to start a trip. Whereas if he had been rude or curt or impatient with us, then it would make us feel annoyed starting a trip, right? So we can see what such a small thing from a stranger can really impact how we feel and how our day goes. So even seeing a smile from someone can cheer us up or make us feel. Okay, so Holy Teacher says we need to work on our own cultivation. And if we're constantly speaking about others people's faults, others are also going to criticize us behind our backs. So we need to constantly find the good in others and praise and admire others. That means then our cultivation is progressing and others are naturally going to praise and admire us back. So we can see how we talk, what we say directly correlates with our level of cultivation. And then 18th Patriarch says, by observing someone's behavior, one can know their inner virtues. By looking at someone's attitude, one can know their achievements. So Holy Teacher has said in the past, we need to see the good in everything. We need to be able to explain everything positively, then we can turn it into good karma. When we're self-content, then we have no complaints, right? When we have gratitude, there's no narrow-mindedness, meaning if we don't compare our situations, ourselves to others, then we feel satisfied with ourselves. If we're grateful for whatever we have, then we won't feel jealous or narrow-minded about why someone has something that we want. So there are times maybe we question what someone did to deserve something good, but what we don't see is how much maybe they worked for it. So if we're willing to change our mindset, then naturally we're going to improve. And to change our attitude, we need to find the good in others, okay? Then the more pleasing things are to us, and vice versa, the more pleasing we are to other people. Then there's also going to be mutual respect as well. And he says, by observing someone's character, one can know their fate. So Holy Teacher has said that if we're unable to control our heart and our minds, we're not going to be able to transcend that cycle of reincarnation, which is the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. And if we can't control our temper, then we can't change our fates, okay? So Lecturer Leo from the Buddha Nature Study class, he often says, be careful of our thoughts because our thoughts turn into actions. Be careful of our actions because actions become habits. Be careful of our habits. Habits become our character. Be careful of our character becomes our fate. So our fates and our character are very closely linked, right? So then he says that he is our teacher, Tianren, and by God's holy order has arrived at Tongyi Temple, and upon entering, respectfully performs proprieties to God, and asks disciples if everyone is at peace. So even Buddhas have to come into temple and do the arrival proprieties, just like we do when we go to temple as well. And then the next section, there's a pause, and he does a poem. And it goes, the autumn winds are blowing, and the weather is getting colder. The years and days are getting shorter. The waves of the ocean are constantly moving forward. So it's saying that time goes by very fast. You know, the ocean is just like our lives. It's always moving forward. You know, time keeps moving forward, and we really have no choice but to go with it. You know, so we're all going to go through the cycle of birth, aging, illness, and one day we'll all pass. And then he says, there are challenging situations and have been through good and bad in this world. So our entire lives are basically a bunch of ups and downs that we're going to go through, right? There are good times, there are bad times. In this world, it's inevitable and it's unpredictable, but there are also good things about it as well. And he says, we cannot return to the past. A sorrowful lifetime has passed in an instant. So once something's passed, we can't go back. That's why we need to cherish every moment. You know, life keeps moving forward no matter what, and the past is past. So we have to be able to let go. And to me, that's why I try not to regret too many things in the past, right? I can't change it. It is what it is. So all I can do is self-reflect, learn from it, and move forward. And how much of history is melancholy? In the end, nothing is permanent. So melancholy means a feeling of pensive sadness. And a lot of history is very sad. You know, there's a lot of killing, there's wars, people occupying lands, political fights, etc., right? But none of it is permanent, okay? So we see rulers, we see famous celebrities, they all come and go, they have their moment, but they all pass away eventually as well. And they say the words left behind by people of the past only increases the confusion in the minds of later generations. So the reason is, you know, most people, what they talk about is not about cultivation or improving ourselves. Instead, they focus and talk about pursuing power, you know, fame, wealth, beauty, but they don't focus on virtues, on being honest, being kind, being good. Therefore, so many people are very confused about what their life path should be, what their purpose is in this world. And that's why we're very lucky as Tao cultivators. We know what we're doing here, right? We know what our life goal is. And personally, if I didn't have, you know, a purpose or couldn't see a bigger picture, I can definitely see how people get very lost and can feel hopeless in this world that's been very crazy. And then he says, the yellow river is always rushing to the sea. Time passes fast. Looking at a mirror, hair has turned silver. So we are the same as the river. We keep rushing through our lives. We keep getting older. One second we're young, we're good looking with the good hair. And then suddenly we look and, oh my goodness, all we see are wrinkles, white hairs. Where did our metabolism go? You know, right now I can count the number of white hairs I have on one hand, but I know very soon I'll lose count. And then I'll be able to count how many black hairs I have left on one hand, right? But the mirror didn't change, did it? You know, we changed and life pushed us forward and continues to keep pushing us forward. So many people are very fixated, you know, on trying to stay young, stay beautiful, but we have to realize that there's also beauty in aging. You know, with aging comes wisdom, comes experience. So to me, there's no reason to dwell on it. That's just how life is. And instead, it's more important to focus on cultivating our inner virtues, right? That's the only thing that lasts forever. Anything physical one day will deteriorate. So then he says, to pass through the bright and dark, to fully understand the decline and glory. Meaning, you know, life goes through good and bad times, but Buddhas can see through those false forms, the impermanence of everything. While humans tend to still be confused, searching for things, fame, wealth, power, right? So we need to reach that same level of understanding and realization, just like the Buddhas, to be able to see through it. To let my mind be broader, more level and magnanimous, and now vision becomes wider. To realize the true meaning of life, to free myself from the bindings of forms. So we know forms are all false, they're temporary, but it's still easy to get trapped by it. Like, for example, if our boss criticizes us at work, we get upset. That's because we're stuck in the words, right? We take it personally. So Lecturer Liu from the Buddha Nature Study class, he said that sometimes we get so mad when someone says something like, we're like a pig, but we're only mad because we're in the form. We picture a pig, so we get angry because we have that image of a pig in our minds. But it's just words. Nobody said that we had to relate ourselves to the pig or even believe other people's words. So if we can remove ourselves from that attachment, then we're free from the words and free from the form. And then we're free of feeling sad or angry by it. So that's what it means to truly free ourselves from forms. Not treating false as true, taking firm, determined steps into the bright journey of Tao. So sometimes people are confused. We don't always understand or realize we're mistaking false as true, right? We think our bodies are true because it exists. We can see, we can feel it. But as we said earlier, one day that means it's going to disappear and fade. What's false is our physical bodies, any forms, anything in the material world. The only thing true is our Buddha nature, okay? We can't see the Buddha nature, so we don't always think it's real, but it's the only thing that's real, right? So if we are able to not mistake false as true, then we can stay on the right path of this cultivation journey we're on, and we'll keep moving forward, right? Every step is progress. Then he says, the true nature as master is most ideal, thorough concept of various principles. So if our Buddha nature is our master, not our sixth sense roots, then we know what is right and wrong thing to do, and we'll be able to embody all the precepts and principles of the Tao naturally. He says, after self-reflection, without shame or regret, continue making progress. So this means when we get to the point where we self-reflect and feel we've done nothing wrong, nothing against our Buddha nature, we have no shame or regrets about anything, then we still need to keep making progress, okay? Our job's never done, keep going. And in a dark place with no shame on our conscience, Buddha's light emerges. So even in dark rooms or we're all alone, if we're able to feel peaceful, that means our Buddha nature has come out. But if we've done bad things, then in the dark or when we're alone, we might feel scared or worried that heaven's going to punish us or something's out to get us. Worldly burdens become faded and forgotten, meaning we no longer have attachments, desires, the three poisons. Hearts become peaceful, quiet, and very free. So free, like birds fly freely, roaming. That's what it means in Chinese. My ambition is to establish myself and inspire others, for myself and others to cultivate. I am so happy. Right, so we lead by example. If we're happy and we cultivate well, then we see others happy and cultivating well along with us, then we're very, very happy, right? So if we do things properly, others will observe and be inspired naturally. So for example, there was a new staff member who saw a senior lecturer cleaning the toilets at Temple, and the staff member became very inspired and started to clean the toilets too. And she later said that she actually hated cleaning toilets, but was so moved to see senior lecturers willing to clean themselves. So if we're not willing to do these things, but ask others to do it, they're not going to want to, and they're going to think that we are hypocrites, okay? So we need to be willing to walk the walk and lead by example. To nurture our inner virtues, to move and transform others is a good cultivator. So just like our senior predecessors, the Buddhas, right, they have a lot of virtues and compassion, and they touch our hearts. That's why we're willing to cultivate ourselves and hope to one day be like them. And hopefully, if we're able to one day move and motivate other junior members to also cultivate, that would be nice. And how great it is when speech and actions are in sync, knowledge and actions are unified, happily moving forward. So it would not be right if we ourselves are not filial to our parents, but we keep pushing filial piety on others, right? Or if we're not good at home, but we pretend to be good at temple. So again, it means that we need to be able to, do as we say and make sure we embody the principles in everything we say, do, and think. And then happily moving forward means, we know that cultivating Tao is great and we can see it helping our lives improve when we put it in practice. Therefore, we're so happy that we're moving in the right direction because we know there's so many benefits. We're happy to keep going and keep making progress. Heaven is watching clearly. The good will have their reward. Heaven rewards the diligent and will not cheat us. So we know that Buddhas are next to us all the time, marking down every single good and bad thing we've done, right? They always note down every little thing. Nothing's ever missed. So people do, tons of good things, but still get sick or something happens to them. And they sometimes wonder why that's happening to them. So they'll ask the Buddhas, right? Well, there was a 39-year-old Tao member who eventually refused to go to temple. Her whole family was very sincere in cultivating originally, but her husband had a stroke and couldn't move after that. And then for Dharma class, her introducer had asked her to come back to temple. So the Tao member was, obviously very angry and wondered why she was being punished with her husband's sickness. So she went to Dharma class to confront Holy Teacher. And then Holy Teacher asked that person, what age was her mother when her father passed away? Her mother was 39. And then he asked, what age was her grandmother when her grandfather passed away? Her grandmother was also 39 when the grandfather passed. So then Holy Teacher asked her, how old is she? So she was 39 as well. And so she was crying so hard because she realized that heaven was so kind and her husband had only suffered a stroke, but did not pass away like previous generations. So after that, she continued to cultivate sincerely in the temple. So we can see, and we feel very fortunate that heaven is looking out for us always. Even if we sometimes come across hardships that seem impossible, insurmountable, always remind ourselves that heaven is already trying to make big hardships into smaller obstacles for us. It can always be worse. But Buddhas and Holy Teacher, they're next to us and always trying to help us. So we need to be sincere and cultivate and never retreat or step back from the Tao, right? Always move forward. And then he says, we do heaven's work together to row the Dharma boat. Heaven and humans unified together is paradise. So when we are one with heaven, then we are in heaven, in paradise. We know heaven's work is very important. So we need to work sincerely with each other and follow our Buddha natures to be successful in spreading this Tao. Okay. Then there's another pause and he says, Holy Teacher and disciples meeting together is not easy. Disciples must seize this time. Right, so it's only by God's order that Holy Teacher can come down to talk to us, to teach us. So it's very special. We need to cherish and take advantage of that time every time we have that opportunity. And every day, self-reflect, constantly be awakened to not become persistently attached to being lost. So for example, if I loved to party or to gamble, to drink, whatever it is, and become attached or, obsessed, I lose my way. Then I'm not going to remember to cultivate Tao, right? So we need to be in a constant state of being awakened so that we don't accidentally go astray. And then Holy Teacher asked disciples whether we have changed our temperament and treat others with sincerity and harmony. Okay, so when we change our tempers for the better, haven't we seen that our home life, our family life is much happier and more harmonious? And then our kids will also respect us more. And then he asked disciples whether we respect ourselves and if our words, actions, and behaviors are proper and appropriate. So if we do inappropriate things or don't follow proprieties, then that's not truly respecting ourselves or respecting our Buddha nature. And then he asked disciples whether we truly put in effort cultivating inner virtues and cherishing every instant. Because every moment is a chance to cultivate and improve ourselves. So we need to put in sincere effort if we wish to, keep making progress and hopefully one day become a Buddha. Then he asked disciples whether we do not have great greed for fame and fortune, being uncorrupted, restraining ourselves to emulate sages. So sages are those of virtue, and we need to have self-control to not be greedy. Sometimes we see corrupt politicians or government officials who maybe launder money for themselves, right? Buddhas would never do that. So we also should never, ever do that. And then ask disciples whether we bear in mind virtues of speech, never gossip or discuss others' private affairs. So other people's business is their business, it has nothing to do with us, so we should stay out of it and never gossip about it with others. Then ask disciples whether we no longer nitpick others, look for the good in others, and tolerate different views. So nitpick others meaning, every little thing someone does or says irks us or annoys us. One look at them and we're annoyed. So are we constantly looking for other people's flaws and their faults? Instead, we want to see the good parts of them, right? And realize that everyone is going to have a different view, a different perspective, and be respectful about that. And then Holy Teacher asked disciples whether our wisdom is revealed, strictly follow the precepts, speak righteous truths. So our wisdom is there, but it's covered up. So we need to cultivate to unveil it. And we know not to gossip. Instead, speak according to the Tao, follow our Buddha nature. Holy Teacher specifically said recently that if we want Tao affairs to flourish, then we need to make sure we don't gossip, that we constantly self-reflect. Then asking disciples whether our minds are broad and wide, be empathetic and put ourselves in others' situations, love others as we would love ourselves. So are we forgiving, tolerant, open-minded? So for example, if someone were to break something, would we get mad at them? Meanwhile, if we broke it, would we forgive ourselves? So sometimes others do something small and we get upset, but we forgive ourselves easily for the same exact thing. So we want to show the same grace to others that we show ourselves, right? And then asking disciples whether we are genuine and sincere, undoubtedly get rid of falsehood and pretending. So it means, do we have a true heart? Some people maybe act very nice to somebody's face, but then behind their backs, they're not nice, right? And talk badly of them. So we don't want to be like that. We don't want to be two-faced. We want to be genuine. Then asking disciples whether we did not abandon our original intention. So what that means is, we started off coming to the temple to receive the Tao, to cultivate, to be more filial to our parents, just in general, to be better people. But after a while, we see, maybe we see a lot of issues or drama that might come up. But we know that anywhere there's a lot of people, there's bound to be some disagreements or things that we might not like. And then maybe we start to retreat and go further from the temple and further from our original intention. So we have to keep our original intention at the forefront of our minds and remind ourselves why we're here, why are we cultivating, right? No matter what hardships we face or difficult people maybe we encounter, we should never let that be the reason to affect our determination to cultivate, right? That'd be a real shame if we let that be the reason we don't one day achieve Buddhahood. And then manifest the Bodhi mind, maintain it, and carry it out to the end. So we want to bring about our Buddha nature and then just keep doing it forever, right? Then asking disciples whether we fulfill vows vigorously and will not hesitate to act accordingly. So this means, we don't feel like we're sacrificing something to fulfill the vow. Are we magnanimous and generous with our donation of time, effort, and money? If we're asked to go out of state to help other temples, do we jump at that chance? Or do we try to think of excuses and say, I don't have time, it's way too expensive, etc. So several years ago, a staff member had booked a last-minute ticket to an out-of-state Dharma class to help. And they originally couldn't go because of work, but last minute, their boss let them take off and told them to go. So they booked a very last minute, very expensive ticket. It was around $1,000, but they didn't worry about the cost and they just went. And at the airport, they were actually offered $700 to take the next flight. So out of pocket, they only had to spend $300, right? So we can see how much, Buddhas tend to prioritize sincerity, and then sometimes they give even more back. So we should have no motive and just go for it when it comes to opportunities that come up to help the Tao. And asking disciples whether we are awakened to the truth, turn from falsehood, return to the true, and never retire of taking delight in the Tao. Meaning, do we deeply understand it and then do we do it? Right? Are we able to not be tired of leading a virtuous life and, always think about how great Tao is? And grand predecessor had said before, we come into this world, then we just have 2 kids and then it's over. So our lives need more meaning than that. Otherwise, it's just aging, eating, sleeping, existing. But having a true purpose and helping others gives our own lives more meaning. And asking disciples whether we pay attention to our body, eat, drink, exercise, work, and rest regularly. So if we don't take good care of this body, it's going to be very challenging to cultivate this lifetime. So we need to make sure we nourish our physical body and nourish our inner Buddha nature as well. So Holy Teacher has asked disciples 13 questions, and he hopes disciples understand the principles and carefully follows them. And then turn around and require ourselves so that we can resolve difficulties. If everything we do follows the middle path, then we can avoid reincarnation. Okay, so for example, if 2 people get into a physical fight, but if we are properly cultivating and, require ourselves to abide by the precepts and the Tao principles, then we would never even be part of that fight, right? So we should do everything according to our Buddha nature, follow the middle path, then we can avoid the 6 paths of reincarnation so that we can go back to permanent heaven. And just a quick reminder what the 6 paths of reincarnation are. There's the temporary heaven saints path, the human path, the Asuras path, animals path, hungry ghosts path, and the hell path. So those 6 paths we want to avoid as cultivators. Our goal is to get back to permanent heaven and avoid those 6 paths. Then having an open mind, an open and clear mind, then there's no contradiction. Meaning if we follow all of the advice from above that Holy Teacher has said to us, then there will be no contradiction, right? Contradiction meaning if we tell people to eat vegetarian, but then we're not willing to follow the same diet for ourselves, that's a contradiction, okay? And there is a standard, meaning the Buddha nature, for distinguishing clearly right from wrong. So when our Buddha nature is our compass, then we very clearly know what's right and wrong, right? So that's the standard, and it matches heaven's standard. Bring our energy back within. Do not let it be consumed. So our energy can get used up. So we need to be smart about how we use it. Holy Teacher had asked Lecturer Liu to open this Buddha Nature Study class to help us practice bringing our energy within and how to nurture our virtues. So it teaches us how to become Buddhas, right? So that's why we should use more of our time to study, practice that, something that's worthwhile. And Holy Teacher has said to some staff members to not let their energy be put outwards. So some people love to play, they love to watch TV all day, or at midnight is still up doing things, right? But sometimes we notice that if we talk all day, have to socialize a lot, we feel really tired afterwards. That's because we used a lot of energy externally. So if we practice the Buddha nature study, then we can learn to channel our energy internally more. But most importantly, it nurtures our virtues. And to accumulate our energy to always stay energetic. So if we do that, then we can stay youthful, have positive yang energy all the time, right? So that's also one of the main points of the Buddha nature study class. If we can cultivate only positive yang energy and get rid of that negative yin energy, such as, anger, jealousy, greed, like selfishness, any negative emotions. If we can get rid of the dirt, then we only have positive energy that is, kind, tolerant, loving. Then we can be like Buddhas. So he asked, do we understand? Holy Teacher says he opened this Buddha nature study class. Did the disciples do it? Holy Teacher set the same rule that every day listen to 1 hour of the Buddha nature study class. Did we do it? Right? He says the same 3 years, each person's payout is different. Scores are naturally different. So we know that each person's cultivation and effort is different, right? So we're all going to be at different levels. But Lecturer Liu has actually said that if we don't consistently listen to the class for a year, somehow it disappears from our memory or our brain, and we have to start over. So he said that there have been people in the past who have felt very comfortable with the Buddha nature study information, but after not listening for an entire year, it was like they never studied it before. They didn't know anything anymore. It was totally empty and gone from their minds. So, Buddha's advice, whenever they give it to us, we need to follow it. And, the class can be kind of challenging to understand in the beginning, but if we put in sincere effort, then heaven's going to help us each time we listen. And every time, if we can pick up one little thing from it, then that's progress as well. And he says, the first section of this beginner's class, 3 years have passed. Disciples, think about if we made good use of that time. The amount of hard work we put in equates to how much harvest we will result. This is a wise saying. So that's kind of a rough translation of a very well-known idiom in Chinese. But basically it's saying how much effort we put in to something directly translates to how much success we will have. Okay. And then he says, next week is the second section. The mid-level class is opening. Aside from listening to 1 hour of class, also must do an hour of practice. Practice of what? And the class members say, let go of all affinities. Do not let a single thought arise. And he says that is correct. So if we know, but we do not do it, then the Tao is not ours. Those who actually do it, they can gain the actual benefit. But he says, disciples, definitely do not overlook this homework. Make good use of each minute and each second. So it's very easy to say, hey, I have 5 minutes. Let me scroll on my phone or watch some TV, right? Let me look at my iPad. But if we use every 5 minutes we have free to practice, then that's going to accumulate very quickly. So I like to try to listen to the Buddha nature study class when I'm driving, or if I have a couple minutes before a meeting, I'll try to practice the letting go of all affinities and to not let a single thought arise. But it's just saying, we got to start somewhere, right? And it says, when we receive Tao, 10,800 years of going beyond reincarnation. And in the eyes of the human world, 10,800 years seems very long. But anywhere there's a number, there's going to be an end, a limit. So afterwards, matters of life and death, we will have to undertake ourselves. And he hopes that disciples can understand Holy Teacher's bitter heart. We each need to be sincere and put in effort. So if we want more than only 10,800 years, then we have to be willing to put in the effort, do our homework that Holy Teachers assigned us, okay? But nobody's able to force us, right? So we have to motivate ourselves, be willing to put in the work, and make Holy Teacher proud. He says, nothing is difficult in the world, only the fear there are those who feel it's difficult. So we need to be good ourselves and then spread these true principles to others with affinity. We're able to save people from the bitterness and we gain merits. So happy, why wouldn't we do it? What Holy Teacher means by ourselves need to be good is that we need to cultivate and practice this Buddha nature study class very well ourselves first. So we know this is so good. Of course, we're going to want to share this with others happily. If we are not in it yet, then we need to step up. Besides diligence, be more diligent, regularly do good things, accumulate merits, build good affinities, cultivate Tao, obstacles will be reduced. So to me, this almost perfectly summarizes what it means to cultivate Tao in one sentence. And if on our paths of cultivating Tao, there are a lot of things not going smoothly, then we need to turn around and ask of ourselves. The thing we must not do the most of is resent or blame heaven. We need to be able to repent sincerely, truly change, be grateful. Everything will turn from bad to good. So we said that some people wonder why bad things keep happening to them. They blame God, they say it's not fair. But as cultivators, we know why this happens, right? It's because of our past karma. We know heaven has already helped reduce it for us. But luckily, we also know how to keep improving our fates and make our lives better. And the answer is by sincerely cultivating. So he says, didn't we say whatever we do is whatever results? Whether good or bad, it is not excluded from this principle. So disciples must remember carefully, when we cultivate Tao, the most valuable is calmness and freedom. The happiest part is understanding the truth, and our Buddha nature is our master. And then he asked disciples to search deep in our hearts and ask ourselves, am I compassionate and kind-hearted? Am I not doing something shameful against my Buddha nature? Am I leading by example? Am I constantly saying good words? Am I bright and upright? Am I grateful and seek to return kindness? Am I doing things for the greater good? Am I prioritizing holy matters? Am I strict with myself? Am I tolerant of others? Is my objective proper? Am I seizing the moment? And am I content and happy? So Holy Teacher says he asked another 13 questions to disciples. May all disciples understand the truth and follow it. So master our own fates, walk this glorious holy time, and remember to be cautious in our words and our actions. Do not give rise to thoughts and lose our Buddha nature. Encourage ourselves to be diligent 24 hours a day. Do not get lost in this world's dust. So dust here refers to attachments, desires, that pursuit of fame, fortune, and the vices like gambling and partying that we talked about, right? So we don't want to get lost in that. And he says that for Tao affairs to be widely spread, everyone must be motivated. For Tao energy to be full, everyone must be of one heart. For the Tao community to be warm, everyone must be mutually caring. And for the Tao journey to be smooth, everyone must be sincere. And then to be able to cultivate and propagate Tao together today is all because of many past lives affinities disciples must know. So each sentient being may be past lives, parents, siblings, relatives, friends, benefactors. So we need to show concern for others and mutually take care of each other. Okay, so that's why we're all able to meet in this lifetime, be friends, why we're able to be in this class together and cultivate together. It's because we all have good affinity with each other from the past and with the Buddhas. So we need to be, we should treat everyone as close family, be kind to each other, help each other. We're all on this Dharma boat together. So if we're able to row the boat in sync, then we can get to our goal faster together. He says, Holy Teacher has said, there is impact in good words. Looking for the good is heaven. Actually do it, and we will see the effectiveness in the long run. Look at the good of others. Do not be jealous, but emulate them. Learn well. Looking at the bad of others, don't get mad. Be merciful, and also be alert and remind ourselves to not follow in their footsteps. Each person has their own good attributes, manifest our own bright truth, good and beauty. If we manifest all positive signals, then how could we not attract good affinities? And if we have a real heart to cultivate, make an effort to do good things, but there are many hardships. Disciples, do not be disappointed, persevere. And he says, walking past where the mountains and streams end, there will be a day we see a bright, beautiful scene. Understand? Right? So each person has their own hardships that they have to get through. You know, for some people, it's their health or maybe issues with their family, problems at work. So that's why we should also always give people grace, because we never know what someone is going through. But when we encounter hardships, don't give up or retreat. Just keep trying, sincerely apply these Tao principles, and slowly things will get better, right? Holy Teacher's giving us hope, reminding us that hardships always end eventually. Our position in heaven depends on what we do in this world. With no merits or virtues, we get no share of the lotus positions in heaven. However much we accumulate in merits and in virtues, heaven will be perfectly accurate. Disciples must make good use of this life, do our very best, do what we're supposed to do things that benefit sentient beings. Right? So how we love sentient beings, heaven will love us the same way. And he says, go for it. This next section, Holy Teacher brought back the parents of the staff members in heaven and stated each of their positions in heaven. So they listed by where their station, their position, and their level. And just to share a few of them so we kind of have an idea. The first staff member's parent is now a sage. Another is a bodhisattva. There are immortals, law enforcers, and various heavens department staff members. There's a document officer. There's a position where that person runs and does various jobs like deliveries. There's a Southern Gate soldier, and one of the transmitters in Taiwan, his father is the class chief of Tianfo-yuan in heaven. And then Nenping Mountain is Holy Teacher's place in heaven, and there are various staff members, a director, a class chief there as well. And there's also a practice cultivation court where there are staff members, class chief, and there's also a Southern Gate staff members. There's also a testing court, and they have various staff members there as well. So just like in our physical temples, you know, in New York, Iowa, Ohio, Texas, California, we have staff members with different duties, different responsibilities, just like in heaven. So if we want to have a good position in heaven, or any position in heaven really, it really starts with what we do now on earth and how we cultivate. And we can see here, you know, that our parents and ancestors clearly benefit from what we do as well. So senior transmitter Jin's father, there was a reunion a long time ago where it was announced that his position in heaven was a peach field guard in heaven. Then many years later, Buddha's had another reunion with senior transmitter Jin's father and stated his new position was law protector, or you can say guardian immortal, but his new position was much higher, right, the second time, because of all the good that senior transmitter Jin and his sons do. And then Holy Teacher says, time is too limited. How rare it is for Holy Teacher and disciples to gather at temple together. How deep the love is for disciples will never change. How hope disciples cultivate sincerely and soothe Teacher's heart. So we're really lucky that we have the love of Holy Teacher, right? And he says, Holy Teacher has urged repeatedly, the Buddha nature study class must be studied. Work hard and never tire of it. Inner virtues will naturally increase. Push forward Tao affairs and make big vows. Do our very best to take steps forward. Full of energy and smiles, show our joy for Tao with our entire being. And although disasters occur frequently, together making good vows can move heaven. Pure goodness with no evil in our minds. Do not delay in being filial to parents. Men are good and women are chaste. Their virtues are apparent. Brothers treat each other as friends and respect each other. Their affinities are perfect. Do not worry that our karma cannot be reduced. Do not worry, there is no peaceful times. So if everyone is so kind, so nice, everyone's good and pure, then affinities are good, right? And we don't need to worry about karma not being able to be reduced or paid back. And then we don't need to worry about any bad times because it'll all be good times. It will be peaceful times if everyone is good. And he says, disciples, take care of our health. Do not dislike light food. Do not tire of labor or exercise. Increase our strength. These are not empty words. Do not be obsessed with inappropriate things online. Pure heart and less desires can prolong life. Sleep early, wake early, listen to teachers' advice. Lifestyle should not be improper. So meaning, we need to sleep when it's time to sleep, eat healthy, and just make sure we have good overall habits. Greed, anger, and stubbornness are all far away. Then what poisons are there? Can we understand? Thousands of advising words. Disciples, do we hear them? Starting today, hurry and pursue them. Let holy teachers see it. Disciples cannot just improve a little. So saying we need to improve, really advise and encourage each other. Same steps and grow together comforts God. Do not waste our energy on meaningless things. Concentrate and be willing to put effort on nurturing our Buddha nature. Let holy teachers see our improvements. Let God feel our difference. Right? So we want to improve so much that, God, holy teacher, and Buddhas can see how much of a difference we've made in our self-improvements, in our cultivation journey, and how we've changed for the better. And then let the world change because of our change. Because of our kind heart and kind actions, full of kind energy and kind people. Right? So it's saying that the whole world will be peaceful then. Our whole Tao purpose as an entity is for world harmony. So if everyone is kind, then it's heaven on earth, right? So let our kindness be contagious. Then holy teacher asks the class members if they have faith, and they say yes. So since we have faith, Buddhas and immortals will also definitely give everyone a helping hand. Holy teacher will also look after us at any time, and everyone must add oil. So in Chinese, 加油 is a very common popular idiom, and it literally translates to add oil, but it really means that we need to keep going. We need to accelerate and go, go, go. And then he says that this reunion scripture is called 13 Questions to Disciples. And he says it's late, and with disciples together, perform the departure propriety to God and says goodbye to everybody. Okay, so holy teacher, he's given us so much good advice in the scripture. To summarize, he is reminding us that time is flying by. That's why we need to cherish every minute. We have to make good use of our short time here. And we need to self-reflect, cultivate, and improve ourselves, right? Help others. And, be kind, let our kindness be contagious. And really everything we say and do really should be according to our Buddha nature. In order to improve on that, we need to study the Buddha nature class and do the practice of letting go of all affinities and do not let a single thought arise. So then we can make sure we don't get lost in this world of temporary forms and attachments, right? And that way we don't get led astray to pursue the wrong things. And something funny is I had this fortune cookie today, and I wanted to share what that fortune said. It said, obstacles are those frightful things you see when you take your eyes off the goal. Okay, so we're all going to encounter various hardships and obstacles, but like Holy Teacher said, they're all going to pass one day. So always keep our eyes on the goal, which is to keep cultivating sincerely to one day hopefully achieve Buddhahood, right? And periodically, we want to ask ourselves these 13 questions from Holy Teacher, but really it's 2 sets of 13 questions. And we want to dig deep and truly introspect, self-reflect, and see how we can do better, right? And then do it. Just keep improving. And just to show you guys again where the 13 questions are in the scripture. The first 13 questions starts off here, asking disciples whether we've changed our temperament. So there's 13 questions here. So hopefully once this is sent out, then every day, maybe we can try to review it where we can. And then the second set of 13 questions is the second half right here, right? Where he asks us to search deep in our hearts and ask ourselves these 13 questions. So it's really the 26 questions that we want to ask ourselves all the time. And that's where we can kind of start with our self-reflections. And from here, we can kind of conclude the class. If I said anything wrong, I ask for heaven's forgiveness, and I ask transmitters and lecturers to please correct me. Thank you.